Today we are going to talk about the paper BEGLA 135 and the paper is called English in Daily Life. We are going to cover block 2. We covered block 1 last time, right? So block 2 is the world around us. Now, in our daily lives, we have several needs and desires. We are confronted with both major and minor problems. So, human propensity is to desire certain traits that propels the need to shape and establish a certain identity in society. And during this course or our journey, we encounter a lot of problems. These could be major and minor problems. So let's do a warm up exercise, and you can categorize the major problems in one section and the minor problems in one section. Think about the issues that you are facing in life right now and categorize them under the category major problems and minor problems. Can we do that? Another thing that we need to understand is that in this course of our life where we are dealing with both grief and happiness, emotions are never stable or static, and we need to navigate our way through this journey where there will be fluctuations. And why we are talking about this thing in this paper is because communication can play a great role. It could be of great importance, right? In order to express, we have to communicate in English since we are talking about English language here. But communication could be in any language. While communicating in English, there are certain uh, things that you have to keep in mind. So, in this block, we are going to cover 4 units, and we cannot cover all the aspects of our daily life, but we will get an idea about how to handle how to handle the major issues that we face. And I hope you have finished the little exercise that I had given you, or you can do it later, and you can look at these issues. That gives you an evaluation of where you stand right now. Okay, and what are the things? Sometimes we are so engrossed in our own way of thinking that we not, and also in our busy schedules, that we do not really get time to analyze our thoughts. And writing could be a very good exercise to delve into your deeper subconscious mind. So you should try this, not only for the sake of this exercise, but also to understand yourself better. Because till the time you do not diagnose the issue, we are not able to find the solutions or the remedy to it. So, first, let us look at the issues which are bothering us. Then, let's look at the ways how we can rectify them or how we can improve those situations if we cannot totally change it altogether. Another thing is that this approach is not only required to uh, manage our lifestyle. This can also be used to develop our understanding or our skills in English language or English communication or communication for that matter, overall communication, right? And we see that the major components that we need to work when we are talking about conversation or languages, the way we address the issues or the way we improve, incorporate the proficiency in our linguistic talent is by major sections are four, right? Reading, writing, listening, and also grammar helps you look at the errors that you are committing, right? So sometimes language comes, if you look at Chomsky's LAD, language acquisition device. So language can come very naturally to human beings, right? But at the same time, there are ways in which you can enhance and improve your speaking or writing skills. Vocabulary, grammar, speaking, listening, reading, writing skills. These can be used to address our daily life issues. And also, the way you convey something, the way you express yourself can impact a lot of relationships that you have, whether these are professional relationships and personal relationships, or even if you have to appear for an interview. There is the first impression is with the way you present yourself, but how you communicate makes an everlasting impression on people's mind, and that is how they remember you, they perceive you, they remember you. Now, it might not be important in a certain way. One doesn't need to be self-conscious all the time and need to control their thoughts too much, but being discreet, being sophisticated, being expressive can enhance your quality of life directly or indirectly. All right. Now, uh, what do you understand by generation gap? This is another warm-up exercise for you. But before that, what do you understand by generation? So give it a few seconds and think, what do you understand by generation? Generation refers to the average time that a child takes to grow up and have children of their own, usually considered to be somewhere around 25 to 30 years. This is typically a group of people born over a period of 15 to 20 years. And then we have names for the generations, right? So there are millennials. So let's say if we have to address a certain generation, I say I'm a millennial, you might be a post millennial, right? And then there are terms in slangs where you do not really say the word millennial or post millennial, you say Gen Z, Gen Y, right? These are the popular terms which are being used across internet. So now, when we talk about generations, what do you understand by generation gap? Okay? So generation gap cannot be can't say that I have a generation gap with my sister, who's probably few years older than me. So you could have a generation gap with your parents, because you have to see that the word generation entails a certain time period. Okay. So, what do you think is the generation gap between, and this is an exercise that you already have in your textbook. Uh, can you think about few things which you feel are components of generation gap? Okay. One is, what do you feel are the issues that you're facing as generation gap? And then you talk about the components. This is an added exercise that I'm asking you to probably add there. That what are the components that you feel add to this discrepancy? Okay, this gap between two generations. What are the components which cause these? Right. So there you need to put some thought into this and do some exercise. Use your head. Okay. Now, what family and friends, when you have spoken about family as a unit or society as a unit, now if you're talking about generations, and every generation has the privilege of calling itself modern. So if we might think that we are the generation, we are the modern generation, probably our parents when they were young, they had the same privilege too. And same goes for every generation that has existed. And with every generation, there would be changes. Now, whether these changes are these always positive progression or not? I mean, is it always the sort of evolution that we see in, Darwin's Origin of Species? Is it always like that? Do we always, evolve as human beings with each generation, or could it be the other way around? Another thing that we can think about. Okay. Of course, we have seen in current times, we have seen a lot of technological evolution, right? But as humans, are we evolving? Are we changing? Or so here comes the question whether generation gap is just about one being better than the previous generation or being more evolved, quote unquote, or it entails a difference being caused by a lot of sociological, technological, political factors, right? So you have to weigh both the sides. You can't just see it as a linear progression. Okay? Now, so family and friends. In this unit, your unit one is family and friends. First, you read and comprehend a personal experience. Okay. Now, second thing is how do you make inferences? How do you, when you read a certain passage, of course, you have readers like we talked about in the previous lecture, that there are preconceived notions that a reader has. Okay, so when you read a text, do you have preconceived notions? And if you have preconceived notions, do they ever undergo a change? Right now, um, it also depends on the text that is given to you and also on the context. So, how much context do you have there? If it's a small, or it's a short paragraph that you have, then can you get a lot of context there? No. But if you're reading an entire novel or probably an entire book or an entire paper, then you have a lot to reflect upon. Okay, or if you are reading a novel and you read the background of that novel, you read about the time period, you read about the historical factors, political factors, economic factors. When you go through all of that, do you feel that you have a better understanding? Can the text that you're talking about be, or the context, can it be indispensable to the text, right? Or because eventually you are going to look for certain inferences that you draw out of that reading. And now the one way is to stay detached with the text and do not let yourself get into that mode of drawing inferences. But if you are doing that, then what are the factors that you take in consideration, right? Is it like too soon? You read a short paragraph and you make up your mind, or you analyze into every bit of it and you also consider the other possibilities which are probably not evident in the text that you are given. Okay, so and then how to, when you have that critical analysis ability, uh, then how do you evaluate situations in your life, not just about the text that you're looking at, also how do you evaluate the situations in your life, any episode that happens, anything that you come across, anything that you hear, whether it's through a grapevine at work or it's through you know some relatives, or it's through a media. Do you directly go towards drawing inferences and take the information as it is provided to you, or do you use your own analytical abilities and consider the possibilities the way you were doing it with the text that was given to you? Are you also applying uh, that trick, that talent to the situations around you, right? Now, you can also listen to children's experiences in the family, because sometimes things that children are telling you are totally unfiltered, and you get it directly. I mean, there is no filter between what they are thinking and what they are saying. So you have a very raw version of human thought when you're talking to children, narrate something to you, right? Their experiences with people, their experiences in life. So that's one interesting thing. Now, um, apostrophe. Apostrophe is used to show ownership of something, right? Now, if you look at then we are going to talk about adjectives. Adjectives can be positive, comparative, and superlative. But first, we are going to deal with apostrophe. So, apostrophe is used to show the ownership of something, that is, shows possession. Okay, and a possessive is formed by adding apostrophe plus s to any singular noun. Okay, so let's first understand this and then we are going to look at more words. So a possessive is formed by apostrophe plus s to any singular noun. Let's say if it is mother, and you add apostrophe and then you add s. Okay, so apostrophe and then s, it becomes mothers. So you see, if we are going to say mother's uh, sari or mother's food, it shows possession, right? The sari is owned by the mother, the food has been cooked by mother. Okay, so you see possession there. Now, second is apostrophe plus s to a plural noun which is not ending in s. Okay, like when we talk about the singular noun, it did not add with a s. Like in mother, you have r at the end. So now we are talking about a plural noun where it's not ending in s. So that's easy. Like we talked about children right now. So children is the plural of child. So when you add apostrophe and then you add s, it becomes children's. Now this is children's is not plural because children is already plural of child, but it shows possession that it belongs to children's cricket ground. Okay, children's school, children's food. Okay, so the food, the school, the cricket ground, it belongs to the children. Okay, you see possession here, um, but you also need to see that it's already a plural word. Okay, so if you add children plus s, it doesn't become children's. That's not a plural. Okay, children is already a plural word. So children's within apostrophe, you need to add an apostrophe. It shows possession. Now third is only apostrophe to plural nouns ending in s. So when we talked about the previous word, which was already a plural, but it did not end with s. So you add apostrophe and then you add s, and it shows possession. But if you have a word which already ends with s, let's say boys, now how do you show possession here? Boy is singular, boys is plural. So you see, a child was singular, children was plural, and you add apostrophe and s to show possession. Now here, boys is already plural. So what you do, boys and just the apostrophe. Okay, because you don't want to add two s there, you just show boys and the apostrophe. All right, so that's the example. Now, before we move to adjectives, I would also like to look at more examples for apostrophe. So I'll just revise this once more and I'll tell you about one more factor here. Let's see, apostrophe is used to show ownership of something. So first is singular noun. Now singular noun, what do you do in singular noun? In singular noun, you add just the s. Okay, singular noun means noun which is in its singular form. It's not plural. It's not like children. Children was plural of child. But if we are talking about the singular form, right? So what do? Here we can take the example of child. So if you're not talking about plural children and you're only talking about singular noun, that is a child, so we would say childs, right? You add an apostrophe and you add s. Look at the first one. What did I say? Apostrophe plus s to any singular noun. So if you're talking about singular, child is singular noun and it doesn't end with s, it ends with d. So you add apostrophe and s, simple. Okay. Now, more examples. Father. So, father, it is a singular noun and it ends with R. It is not ending with S. So, what do? Apostrophe plus S. Okay, apostrophe, then S. Now, you have to say father's razor, father's pen, okay, father's office. Okay, now, mothers, we have already used that example. So, mother, apostrophe S, mother shawl. We are talking about one mother, one father. Okay. Now, let's talk about something which is not a person. So, let's say bank. Bank ends with, it's singular. It's, we are talking about one bank, so it's singular. And then it ends with K. It doesn't end with S. So after K, you put an apostrophe and S. Banks. So this, I hope this first rule is absolutely clear. Now we move to the second one. Second one, we talked about how we, if we have a plural noun, where we discussed about children. So plural noun plus s. So the way you had children, and when you're talking about children's school, it doesn't mean singular. Okay, it is not a singular word. It's a plural word. So it doesn't mean one child's school. You're talking about many children. Okay, so children's school. Okay, the school belongs to many kids there. And similarly, men, not man is what, singular. Man's shirt. So when you say man, man, apostrophe s, that's the first rule that we talked about. It becomes man's shirt. But when we are talking about plural, so man's plural will be men, right? Um, child's plural was children. But here, if you're talking about one man, it's man. But if you are talking about the plural of this word, then it becomes men. Similarly for women, woman, woman, singular, women, woman. So you say woman's um, woman's book, right? Man's pen. Huh? You add apostrophe and s in singular form. Now when it becomes plural, that is men, men, then what do you do? Because the word ends with n, it's not s, then again you put an apostrophe and s. Okay, women's, women's cable, okay, women's ship. All right. Now, or mice, mouse singular, mice plural. So again, mice, it ends with e, so you put an apostrophe and s. I hope it's making sense to you. Uh, Take a pause, reflect on what I'm saying. When you use a singular noun term, let's say man, man, woman, woman, child, or mouse, then you put an apostrophe and s. If you're using the plural of these noun words, then you use men, again apostrophe and s. It will still show possession, but to a plural noun, to more than one entity, right? So men's, women's, mice, right? And then another example, as we have discussed, child, children, right? So children's, mice. Okay. Now, uh, third would be plural nouns which are ending with s. So these plural nouns or singular nouns did not end with s. Now let's talk about plural nouns which are ending with s. So what do you do here? You like we said, that you use single s and then you put just the apostrophe. You do not add s here. So boy, singular noun. So if you have to show possession by one boy, you will say boys, apostrophe and s. But if it is a group of boys and you need to show possession, you'll write boys and just the apostrophe because it ends with s. In previous plural nouns, they did not end with s. Children, men, women, mice. They did not end with s. So you put an apostrophe and s. But here, because it already ends with s, so after the s you put the apostrophe. So boys and then just the apostrophe, and it shows possession. So boys table. So the table belongs to many boys, right? More than one boy. Now, another example could be dresses. Okay, dresses, then apostrophe because it already ends with s. Dress is singular and dresses is plural, so the apostrophe. Ladies, it ends with s, so just after the s, just the apostrophe. Ladies, ladies courtroom or ladies event. Okay, so the event belongs to ladies, the courtroom belongs to ladies, the hall belongs to ladies. So ladies, and then after s you have apostrophe. All right. Next is singular nouns. This we did not talk about earlier. So listen to this carefully. Singular nouns ending in double s. Okay. So let's say if the noun ends with, this is singular noun. So it ends with boss. So there is one boss, singular, so one, and noun, so boss. And then what do you do in these? You add an apostrophe and then you add s. Same thing. So if it ends with double s, so boss apostrophe s, countess apostrophe s, princess, princess apostrophe then s. So let's say princess gown, so you would say princess apostrophe s and then you write gown. So the gown belongs to one princess, but the term ends with double s. So you just put an apostrophe and s. Nothing really changes here. Okay. Now we'll move to comparison of adjectives. So take 1 second to think about what we have spoken about apostrophe, which shows possession, and we spoke about singular nouns and plural nouns, those which end with s and those which do not end with s, and singular nouns which end with double s. Okay, so how will you show possession there? Right? And you need to take care of the apostrophe because if you just add an s, it becomes the plural of that word, right? So if there is boy and you add s, it becomes boys, it becomes plural. So if you want to show the possession by the boy, then you need to add boy apostrophe and s. So that means boys, this thing belong to one boy, which shows possession, right? Now we move to comparison of adjectives. So adjectives are, we already know what are adjectives, but what are the various degrees of adjective? First is positive, second is comparative degree, positive degree, comparative degree, and superlative degree. Now, the positive degree of the adjective denotes some quality. Okay, so positive degree of the adjective denotes some quality. The comparative degree of the adjective denotes a higher degree of the quality when two things or two sets of things are compared. All right. Now, if you talk about sweet, before we move to superlative, talk about positive degree sweet. It denotes a certain quality. But if we have to compare uh, adjectives, now there is one term and there is a higher degree of quality when two things or two sets of things are compared. So if you say sweeter, but er, and then you are comparing two things. Okay, um, these mangoes are sweeter than those apples. Okay, um, the choco fudge is sweeter than um, than red velvet pastry. So you are comparing two things, okay? And this could be applied to other adjectives as well, but we are taking sweet, the word sweet here in consideration. So positive is where positive degree of the adjective is when you're just mentioning the adjective and it denotes a certain quality. Comparative becomes when you're comparing two things or two sets of things, okay? Now, superlative, third degree. Superlative degree is where it denotes the highest degree of the quality and is used when more than two things or two sets of things are compared. So, it is the highest degree. You compare two things and you compare two sets of things. So, more than two sets of things, right? Or more than two things. When we were comparing two things, it was comparative, or two sets of things. When you're comparing more than two sets of things, then it becomes superlative degree. So this is sweetest. Okay, so if you're saying that choco fudge pastry is sweeter than red velvet, this is the comparison of two things. All right, but if you're saying or you're saying mangoes are sweeter than the apples, but if you are comparing a lot of fruits, there are bananas, there are grapes, there are apples, there are mangoes, and you say that these bananas are the sweetest. That means the bananas that you have are sweeter than all the other fruits which are there in that group. And it's not one or two things or one or two set of fruits. There are many fruits, right? So this particular fruit that you're talking about, whether it's banana, whether it's grapes, you're saying that this one is sweetest in the entire batch of things. Okay, and this batch consists of more than two things, right? But if you have to say that the banana is, if you have to compare banana with just one more thing, if you were comparing two things, you would say bananas. These bananas are sweeter than those mangoes. Okay, um, so I hope positive, comparative, and superlative degree is clear to you. Right. Now let's look at pronunciation and silent letters. In English, you generally do not pronounce all the letters in a word, and you know that there are letters which are silent. So you might, and yesterday also we talked about how we might write something in English. It's all not always that the way you speak the words is how you write the words. Okay, so if we are talking about pronunciation in English, you generally do not pronounce all the letters in a word. Um, Often. Now, some letters in the words are silent. In other words, they are not pronounced. For example, we are going to look at examples now. Okay, so B is silent here in these words. Look at this, and the final position. You see that there is B and there is BT. Okay, so in thumb, okay, you say thumb. You don't say thumb. Okay, bomb. You don't say bomb. So B is silent at the end. Thumb, bomb. Then you'll see that B is again silent in this word. Date. You don't say debit, right? B is silent. Com. You don't say combo. Com. Say com. Climb. You don't say climber, right? Climb. Then you say doubt. You don't say doubter. You don't, and it's also difficult to say doubter, right? So you say doubt. Okay. Now tomb. You don't say tumber. You say tomb. Now let's look at the next group. Here D is silent in the spelling sequence where DJ is used. So when you say adjective, you don't say adjective. Okay. Adjoin. So the chairman is in the adjoining. Okay. You don't say adjoining. Okay. Adjust. Adjacent. Adjourn. So D is not stressed here. D is silent here. Okay. Next, G is silent. The set of words that I'm going to speak about now, you'll see that G is silent here. For example, phlegm. G is silent. You just say phlegm. Okay. And you can also look at the slides to get a better understanding. So phlegm, nard, champagne. You don't say champagne, right? Champagne. Sign. You don't say signer, right? Paradigm. Okay? Not paradigm. Paradigm. Nash, right? Resign. Nat. Physiognomy. Assign. Gnaw. So G is silent in these, whether it is GM or GN sequence. Now next we are going to say, we are going to look at H being silent. Okay, so a lot of people say ghost, but it is not ghost, it is ghost. H is silent here, ghost. Then you say aghast or ghetto. You don't say ghetto. Okay, ghetto. Now H is silent in these spelling sequence. K is silent in the following. In the next sequence, we'll see that K is silent. So knee, you don't say knee, you say knee. K is silent. And then you have knob, you have no, you have knock, you have knife, right? And now let's look at next sequence of words. So here L is silent. And you see, while we are doing these words, there are certain rules that we are following when we talk about pronunciation. Okay? And L is silent in the following words. So we have looked at B, we have looked at D, we have looked at G, H, K, Now, last is L, in at least in this sequence. L. So let's say walk. It's not walker. It's walk. Balm, not balmo. Balm. Talk, not talker. Talk. Palm, folk, calm. Right. N is silent in the word. Next one is P is silent in the word. Let's look at the sequence of PN and PS. Pneumonia. So P is silent. Zal. P is silent. Pseudonium. Okay. P is silent. Pneumatic. Again, P is silent. Psychology. P is silent. You can also see that P is silent in this word. Like in these words that we covered, P was in the beginning. It was the first letter. But in a word like unkempt, P is not in the beginning. The word doesn't start with P, and still P is silent. Okay. Now look at these words where T is silent. So castle. Okay. You don't say castle. You say castle. Right. Listen. T is silent. And you see, we use these words so often, but then we do not always pay attention towards what we are saying, what we are not saying. And pronunciation can also differ according to various regions or languages. But there are certain rules which apply to, let's say, English. English is being spoken or is the native language of many people or many countries. But still, they will have their own rules. But the primary rules might always be common. Right? So, uh, next we were talking about castle, listen, wrestle, right? Then fasten the belt, bustle. Okay, we don't say bustle, bustle, glisten, right? Wrestle. Now, in the upcoming words, you'll see that W is silent in the final position. In the initial spelling sequence, WR, and sometimes the initial spelling sequence, WH. So let's look at these words. Saw, right. So in saw, you see saw, the sound that you hear at the end just ends at a, okay? Or right, right. It easily starts with R, right. Okay. Who, raw, okay. Who. So the sound is of H, who, raw, okay. Rest, W is silent. Whole, W is silent. Claw, W is silent. Wrist, okay. Whose, blow. At the end, W is silent. Wreck, whom, snow, wrap, show. So you see, W is silent in all these words, and we have covered many such sounds or letters which are silent. Now, let us sum this up. Reading, you when you'll go through this unit, there are things that we have covered here, and when you do it more in detail, you will see that reading and understanding a personal experience could require a lot of analytical skills as well as social and personal sensibility. Okay? And if you are talking about a personal experience, that will always have the elements of memory attached to it. Okay? There could be individual memory as well as collective memory. Okay? So if you have gone through a personal experience, there are certain ideas or recollections that you have based on your personal experience, which originates from your individual memory. At the same time, you'll have ideas which arise from collective memory. So an episode might have happened, and your understanding of it could have been manipulated, could have been distorted, could have been enriched as well by the experience or shared understanding of the group which was a part in sharing that experience. So, shared experience, if it's personal, it might you might recollect it in a certain way which will incorporate both personal and collective memory. Okay, so how do you read and understand a personal experience? How are you able to look at it more objectively and you dissociate with it wherever required? Is it possible or not? One question that one needs to look at. Again, making inferences from the text, we've already spoken about it, that it is not easy to stay completely detached from the text that you are reading or the idea that you're talking about. And context becomes important while you're reading a text. So, how much context do you have when you read a text, whether it's a short text or a long text or an entire book? How much context do you add or do you have available adds a lot to the inference that you draw. Now, this context could be present to you in real time, or it could be there with you through previous understanding of the subject. Right? Now, next is expressing personal opinion. Now, once you have to express personal opinion, here discretion becomes very important. And like we talked about how to be careful about not offending the sensibilities of other people. So while we are making small talk, or we are talking to a group of people that we do not know personally since a long time, it's not a personal relationship. So similarly, when you are expressing personal opinion, one needs to be very careful about the way in which they are expressing it, because your personal opinion is not necessarily the opinion of everyone else present around. So you cannot impose it on others. It has to come like an opinion, not like a decision, right? So listening to people's next is listening to people's personal experience and comprehending it. Now, when you're listening to other people's personal experiences, here we talked about how while you are narrating your personal experiences, or when you are reading your or understanding, analyzing your personal experiences, what are the elements that you need to be aware of, right? How much of your own thoughts are coming in play, and how much is it influenced by the impact of other people's perception or narration of that particular episode, right? That is what you do when you are talking about your personal experience. But when we are talking about other people's personal experience, when they are telling you that and you are listening to it, how do you handle that? The element of kindness and empathy comes in here. And as you know that we when we talked about courtesy or etiquettes, kindness becomes the ultimate premise. So even with changing times and changing scenario situations, if you are following kindness or practicing kindness in your behavior, it will eventually lead you to follow a well-mannered and a well-mannered approach in your day-to-day dealings, as well as you'll reflect good etiquettes in your behavior. So similarly, when you are listening to other people's personal experience, you can exercise empathy, um, you can exercise kindness, you can exercise patience, because listening is another skill. Okay? While we are talking about communication, we can't just pay attention towards how we are speaking. We also need to pay attention about how we are listening. Listening becomes a very integral part to the process of communication. You don't listen well, you do not reciprocate well, right? So listening is important. being a good listener is a quality. Using the apostrophe and comparison of adjectives. We covered about how we use the apostrophe and how we compare adjectives. Okay, so now next we are going to talk about how we describe our daily events. What are the objectives, right? So we all know the importance of maintaining discipline in our daily lives, sticking to a time schedule and managing our time in the most effective and constructive manner produces amazing results, right? So if you look at the reason why people tend to get anxious or even new researchers show that people tend to procrastinate. When we procrastinate, we think that we do not want to do the work, but it is highly possible that the reason we are procrastinating is because we want to do the work, but we are afraid or we are worried about not being able to finish it in time, right? So procrastination could be a result of perfection as well. When you are trying to do something really perfectly, and then you want to pay more and more attention and time to it. So procrastination could be a byproduct of being a perfectionist, right? So yeah, and discipline. Also, the procrastination, it's like a vicious circle. You procrastinate, you want to do a work perfectly, so you need more time. So you want to start it at the right time, in the right situation, and that kind of delays the process. Then you have less time available, and you feel that you will not be able to address this task properly. So it results in procrastination. And then when you realize that you have probably crossed the time to do it in a way which was reasonable, if not perfect, it was still going to be a good quality. You've crossed that kind of time limit, then you tend to get anxious, anxiety creeps in, right? So, what is the way to address it? Rather than trying to compile all the work and let it percolate in your mind till it becomes, absolutely disturbing, it's better that you follow a disciplined lifestyle. You do it in little chunks daily, so that little steps could lead you to better work, and it will not be accumulated at the end, right? It can be dealt bit by bit, chunk by chunk. So that's the importance of maintaining discipline and sticking to a time schedule. Because sometimes if you do not stick to, you might be doing the work daily, but we are we are living in a time where we are handling multiple things, so we are multitasking. So you need to manage the time, you need to divide it appropriately. Okay, and there are listening skills, writing section. Then we come to grammar. Okay, what are linkers? So you see the word linkers and you wonder what are linkers. Linkers are nothing but conjunctions. We have already studied conjunctions in our primary classes or middle classes in English. So conjunctions or linkers are words used to join other words, groups of words, or sentences. So we use and to join similar facts or statements. Conjunctions belonging to this group are and, moreover, as well as early to bed and early to rise. Okay? The driver applied the brakes and the car stopped. So we are joining. You see, there are two sentences: early to bed, early to rise. You join them together, you link them together with a linker or conjunction and. Okay, early to bed and early to rise. The driver applied the brakes, the car stopped. Two sentences. Okay, you join them together, the driver applied the brakes and the car stopped. So the stopping of the car is the result of driver applying the brakes, and that becomes evident with the use of the linker or the conjunction. Okay, we use but to express opposition or contrast. Conjunctions of this group are but, yet, however. I sent him an urgent message, but he did not come or he didn't come. Okay, So it is showing the opposition or contrast. You sent a message, but he did not come. So when you're sending a message, you're expecting the person to come. But if he doesn't come, then this is probably the contrast of what the message was intended at. Okay. Now, because suggests the reason for something. Other conjunctions can express reason are since, as. So if you have to express reason for something happening, you can use the conjunctions like since, as. We haven't shifted to our new house because, again, to explain reason, you use because it hasn't been painted as yet. Although, even though, even if, these suggest contrast. Okay? So although, for example, although my day begins early, I wind up late. I won't work for them even if they offer me double my present salary. Okay? And so it is a contrast. So I wouldn't work for them even if they are offering me double salary. Usually when somebody offers you double salary, you go and work for them, but you are not going to do that because there is a contrast, or because you have other personal reasons to do so. Okay. Or to pass on such a great opportunity. So when suggests time, other conjunctions suggesting time are as, while, since, until, before, after, as soon as. I'll ring up after I reach the office. Okay. Since the number of customers reduce in the afternoon, Nasir and I have a nice chat. Okay. So next, we have mother prepare dinner for me while I change my dress. Okay. So while, since, until, before, after, as soon as, these are suggesting time. Where and wherever, they suggest place. Okay. So what are FAQs? What you understand by FAQs? FAQs are frequently asked question. FAQs are frequently asked question. Now, FAQ is actually an abbreviation of frequently asked questions. This frequently asked question list is often used in articles, websites, email lists, and online. Mostly it is used on online forums to address the recurring common questions. Okay. So you might not have enough funds to support a huge customer care system, and more than often the questions are probably similar. So create a FAQ list, which is frequently asked questions list, where those questions are already answered. So one doesn't need to invest extra time and energy in getting in trying to get in touch in real time and finding out the answers. So it's faster, just accelerates the process, and it's usually found on websites. So let's look at the FAQs which are asked at interviews, and you can make a list of them later on, but you can think about it right now. So, when you are asked, what can you tell me about yourself? These are the questions which will be frequently asked. So, you need to be prepared with these answers, and you need to understand the psychology of the other person, okay? The person who's interviewing you. What can you tell me about yourself? Can you list your strengths? What weaknesses do you have? Why should I consider hiring you? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Why do you want to work here? What is your salary expectation? What motivates you? What makes a good team player? Is there anything that you would like to ask me? If you look at this set of questions, you will see that they are trying to get into your mind and understand. Okay. So these describe the daily routine, and we talked about linkers, we talked about time management, practice and writing, pronunciation section, we talked about FAQs for interviews. Now let's talk about money matters. Okay, what are the objectives? In this, you will acquaint with vocabulary pertaining to financial matters, especially investments and taxes, help you understand and discuss issues relating to finance, enable comprehension of shared bulletins, brochures, bonds, equities. You need to research a bit on these terms and understand, develop your understanding on these terms: bonds, equities, insurance schemes. It Then you'll be taught how to help you fill an application form and the conditional clause and the usage. So what is an investment, what are taxes, what are taxpayers, right? So if you look at this reading comprehension, you will see that it talks about managing money, and you can read this passage and you'll see how it talks about finances and what understanding do you gain out of this, right? Then we talk about conditional clause. So what are clauses are a group of words that includes a subject and a verb, okay, usually only a part of the sentence. What are subordinate clause? These are a group of words that is not a sentence, but that adds information to the main part of the sentence. Okay? So clauses, subordinate clauses, and a conditional clause is a type of subordinate clause most commonly introduced by the conjunction if or unless. Okay. Um, Now, in this unit, you have seen that there is a specialized discourse and vocabulary of finance that you need to work upon, and you need to understand them because these are some basic terms that everybody should know in order to develop their financial understanding. Now, public services. So, time to time, we have to make use of public services such as booking tickets at railway station, airports, and or you have to talk about an exam. You need to speak to a phone helpline. You need to volunteer for an NGO project, and these are the ways in which you indicate the future at times. So you use will or going to. Okay? Now, if you have to talk about a telephone helpline, so there are a lot of public utility services available: telephone directory, police, fire, ambulance, a lot of such things. A telephone directory always contains valuable information and instructions that a customer needs. It is user friendly, comprehensive, usually or preferably error free. A few public services are now available which are not listed in the directory. One of them is a helpline service which is in great demand all over the country. So there are people who need emotional and psychological support during time of distress. So these helpline services, they have saved lives of people. They give right advice at the right time. Now, in grammar, um, how the future is expressed. Usually, it is expressed by the terms "I will" and "I'm going to." So, if you look at few conversations which are given in your book, in your study material, you see that there are conversations which show how they are talking about terms and how "I will" and "I'm going to" is frequently used if you are going to talk about something in future, right? Um, Now, for pronunciation, there are words of two syllables. Okay, so in English, it is absolutely essentially to stress the correct syllable in polysyllabic words. So, if you do not know which syllable is stressed in a particular word, make it a point to consult the dictionary. In addition to the sounds, the correct stress is also part of the character of an English word. Now, English words can have as many as 8 syllables, but I'll give you a little example. For example, if you look at the term process, so if you stress the first syllable, if you're talking about a noun, then you'll stress the first syllable. So you'll say process. Okay, this is a hectic process. Okay, so process is noun. But if you're going to use the word as a verb, then you'll stress the second syllable. You'll say, I'm going to process this form very soon. Okay. So noun versus you have your syllable stresses here, right? Okay. So I think we have covered a great deal of terms which we are going to use, a very practical understanding of the words that we are going to use, or the terms, or how to communicate in the world outside. And I hope that you collect all this and look at them in detail, write it down, look at your notes, and let's just look at the result, because again you need to apply it practically. This is communication, you need to apply it practically, and then only all this information will make much sense. All right. So that's all. Take care. Have a good day ahead. Thank you.